you know what this is, then you know what these are. Welcome back to Victory Woodworks with Vic, and I'm Vic. In this video, we're going to make these two record crates out of a 2x6 and a 2x4. First off, we're going to break down this 2x6 into smaller pieces to make it a little easier to work on the table saw. Now, hopefully you saw my last video when I did a quick unboxing and review of this ThinRip Jig. We're going to use that today to slice off not only just the rounded edges, but later on we cut up the 2x4s for the strips. We're going to use this heavily for the strips also. So let me just insert this. What we're going to do is we're going to grab our 1/4" setup bar, set it up here so that we can cut off just a rounded edge of each of those pieces of 2x6. What we'll do is we use our scrap just to test out to make sure we're right where we need to be. Yeah, it looks to be about right. Get our headgear, give it a go. I think we got it right on the money there. So in case you're wondering, I am using the Diablo 24-inch tooth blade just to continue doing the testing on it. Cuts pretty good. And I'm going to keep using this little ThinRip Jig just to do the other side now. Okay. Our test piece looks good. Just give it a quick measure. You've got just under 5 inches, so we're good. Let me do all the rest of these. Okay, that was pretty easy. They're all the same, well, almost the same size, because you saw one of them was a little bit smaller, but we've got all the ends cut right off. What we're going to do next with these is we're going to take them to the bandsaw. We're going to slice them right down the middle. So next we're going to resaw these right down the middle. The way we're going to do that is we're going to take 2 setup blocks. We're going to stick it here between the fence and the blade, gently. Tighten down our fence. And we're going to just cut it right down the middle. We may be off a little bit, but that's okay. That's where the planer and the sander come in. So let's get to this. Okay, so here we have our 2x4s. We just cut down to 19 inches because eventually we're going to be cutting them down to the exact size we want. But for right now, this is all rough cuts. We're going to set up our ThinRip Jig to 1/4 inch. And what we're going to do is we're just going to rip a whole bunch of 1/4 inch strips from all of these. And I'm going to show you how easy it is to do repetitive cuts on this. So we just pushed the fence. Well, hold on. Let's make sure we're locked down first. Just push the fence up against our wheel, lock down our table, and off we go. I'm going to finish up the rest of these and I'll get back to you at our next step. So our next step, what we're going to do is we're going to take all of these slats that we created and make sure they're all the same thickness. And we're going to do that by sanding it down with the drum sander. So the next step of the process, we are hooking up our portable router onto our table here. And what we're going to do is we're just going to run just the edges of each of the board just to round them off a little bit to make it easier on the fingers. Next step is prepping the end pieces. So of all the pieces we cut, try to find the ones that look the best to you. And what we're going to do is we're going to fold them and we're going to joint them so that when we glue them up, they'll have a nice seam in here. So let's get to that. So we're going to go this way. I'm going to fold them in. This way we have complementary angles and they'll have a tighter joint. It'd be nice if we plugged it in first. Now that you have your pieces matched and jointed, don't mix them up. What I'm going to do is going to do the glue up here on our pieces that have just been jointed. So they're going to be glued like this. First one, I'm going to try these Rockler panel clamps, see if that works. Then I'm going to go with the pipe clamps, and then we'll see what other kind of clamps we have. So for right now, let's just make sure we get the right pieces in. Just slather out the glue and clamp it up. What we're going to do is just kind of press them together and make sure we got a good glue coverage. Hopefully without making too much of a mess. A little finicky, but you know what? Gives a good result. We're totally aligned. Those are aligned, and just going to crank it down just a little bit so we get the right kind of squeeze out. All right, that's in nicely. Got one of these clamps. Okay, we got one. We'll let it dry for a while, come back, scrape it off, and then continue. As you can see, we finished off the first half of our end panels. Glue's scraped off mostly. We're going to run it through the sander to get it all smooth. But before we do that, what we need to do is turn these other pieces into the top part that's going to be the handle. So here we have our side piece, which is approximately 9 3/4. This is some of the extra scrap that we had cut previously. And we're going to make this into our handle without having to use a jigsaw to cut out the middle. The way we're going to do that is we're going to take the board, we're going to measure it, and this is 4 3/4. So half of that's going to be 2 3/8. Just strike a line all the way down the middle, just to make it easier for us to visualize what we're trying to do here. It doesn't have to be exactly down the middle, but they should be the same on both pieces. So then what we're going to do is we're going to measure down 3 inches because we want it to have at least 3 inches of handle on the side and put a little mark there. Same thing on the other side. This is going to be right where where we're going to start our part of our circle. The way I'm going to do that is I'm going to pick one of these Forstner bits, let's say 1.5 inches. I'm going to take it out. I'm going to put it right on that spot. Poke it in so I know exactly where it is. I'm just going to make a couple marks around it, just so I know where the edge is going to be. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Now what I need to do is just kind of draw out a circle so I can see exactly what it is I'm going to do here. And I'm going to just draw a half circle. I'm sure you can see that, but there's a half circle up here, half circle here. Just give me an idea of where the handle is going to be. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my ruler again, find out where that line intersects. It should be right there. And just drag it on down. And what we have is just a line across there. And we're going to do the same thing on this side. Just a guideline. Now what we're going to do is we're going to drill these out at the drill press. Okay, so we have chucked up our 1.5 inch Forstner bit. What we're going to do is try to center it right on this dot. And then we're going to set up our fences so we can do all the others. That looks to be about right. Our speed is about 700 RPM. Just to make a nice clean cut, we're just going to flip it over. There we go. Perfect. The next step in our process, now that we've got our holes, is to cut off a sliver on this side and a sliver on this side to remove this middle piece. We're going to set the saw basically to 1.5 inches. That's basically where we're going with this. Well, looks about right. If not, we can always adjust and do it again. And there you go. You got our center. So basically what we're going to do is glue this back right here. And you've got your complete center made without having to use a jigsaw. I think that's a nice little tip. Step in the handle making process is basically gluing up our 3 pieces. Pretty simple. What I'm going to do is just add a little glue. Actually, I'm going to add it on this side. Put it up against, put it up against, and same thing on this side. Just put it up against. I'm going to take a clamp each end. We should be done. From this step, what we're going to do is we're going to take one of our handles and we're going to take one of our sides. We're basically going to glue them together, clamp them with this also, to kind of get the 2 pieces to be glued to each other. And remember, we still are going to be sanding this stuff off, so even if you do get a little squeeze out, spillage, or otherwise, it's quite all right. And then one crosswise, but not too hard in the middle because you don't want to break the handle here. You just want to get a little bit of squeeze out. Alrighty. There you have it. Our panel glued up. You've got some nice squeeze out on this side also. So we've got a little sanding to do. In this step, what we're going to do is we're going to gang sand all the tops of our slats, because as you can see, they have a little bit of writing on them, just to get everything smooth and about the same. The way we're going to do that is we're going to use our little Performax drum sander here, stick them in this end, and just let them go through once or twice until they're all the same size and without any writing on top. So let's turn on our vac. So our panels have been drying or curing for the last couple hours. Let's take them out of the clamps and put them through the drum sander to smooth out all the unevenness you may have between each of the panel sections. So in this step, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking our slats here, and we're going to be gluing and pin nailing them into our sides. Now, the first one you put in on all the edges is the most important one, because that's going to set up how straight everything is. So I've been thinking about this, and I've got these little right angle clamps, or whatever you want to call these things, and I've got these screw clamps here on the side that are going to hold up my panels. Now, they're not going to be perfectly level, but they're going to be close. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this square, and I'm going to just kind of rest it on top. So now I know that this is right angle to the panel. I'm going to take my slat here, just temporarily, and just put it on top. Just rest it there and try to figure out the approximate space where it needs to be. And right now, using this little block, I've got it flush and flush. And I've got it square to the panel itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this little spring clamp and just clamp it on there so it doesn't fall off. And now I've got this first piece, even with the back, even with the side, ready to be nailed in. Then we're going to do the same thing on this side, so at least we've got one edge that's completely square. Then we're going to do it on the front. All right, let's see how that goes. And for pin nails, we're using, well actually 18 gauge nails, we're using 3/4 inch, which should be long enough since this is 1/4 inch going into here. You don't want too much glue, just enough, just to put a little bit on there. Okay, we're on, we're square, we're flush, we're square with that also. Let me just pin it in. All right, pinned just the way we wanted it. Now, we've got this first one. Let's stretch it out just a little bit. Let's take it and do the same thing on this side. We're going to roughly get it to where we want it, which is right about here. We're going to take our square, put it right on top, and we're just going to spring clamp it in so it doesn't fall off, and just do a minor adjustment to this panel on the left to get it right exactly where we want it, which is right here. Perfectly square. So now let's glue it up. Place it down. Make sure everything's in alignment. It is. And let's just pin it in. Do the same thing. Get the square about where we need it and align it, which is right about there. Get our little spring clamp out. Right there is where we need it. Watch your fingers. All right, so that one's in on that side. We're gonna do the same thing on this other side. Same thing, just put a little glue up underneath here. Doesn't have to be a lot, just a little bit, just to get it in there. We're going to put it down, and we're just going to make sure that we are flush on those sides and in alignment to bring it in and out. And this looks to be, can't see from that side, but okay, there we go. Okay, so now we have the beginnings. Now the rest, these, you just need to just space out. Whatever spacing works for you. So I think I'm going to put about 6 or 7 of these across the bottom. Let's see what we got here. Whatever looks best. And use your worst pieces on the bottom. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Looks like 7 pieces. We're going to spread these out evenly, glue them, and just tack them in. Now we're going to do the side. Now, your panels may not be perfectly straight, flat. Mine are not. They're close, but they're not completely there. This one's got a slight bend on this side. So what I'm going to do first is tack the top here, get it square, and then I'm going to work my way down. And this last one, I like to overlap the bottom. It's got a little chip here, so we'll go this way. That'll be perfect right there. Now, before we go any further, let's flip it over and do the other side to make sure we got the panels in the same parallel to each other. Same process. See how close we are. We're all right. Gonna bring it in just a little bit. So right there is where it needs to be. So let's just glue and pin. finish up this crate. Looks pretty good all the way around. Last thing we're going to do is we're just going to hit it with a little sandpaper just to make sure that there are no little edges to catch your fingers on, and otherwise, that's it. You're done. One giant crate. Can be used for a lot of things. Personally, I'm going to use this for my album collection. So I think these crates came out really nice. Very inexpensive. We used a 2x6 and a 2x4 to make it. Joinery was very simple. Basically straight cuts, a couple brad nails, and some glue. So if you like what we've built here, or you've learned something new, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. In the meantime, listen to some good music and stay passionate.